Hello, welcome once again to Spirituality with Be Just Delight TV. God bless you as you listen to this session. This morning I'd like to discuss what I call key enemies of successful marriage. Key enemies of successful marriage. But before I expatiate on that, we have to know that the foundation on which a successful marriage will stand is that a wife should submit to the husband while the husband loves the wife. And that is why I tell people marriage is not a destination, it's a journey. That you get wedded today does not mean you have arrived. Because either you like it or not, a marriage that is not working is a product of couples that are not ready to make it work. And wherever you stop working your marriage is where your marriage stops working. Because no marriage will work on its own accord. So we have to understand that for our marriage to be successful, we have to be intentional about everything we do in the marriage, because every marriage is an empty farmland, and whatever you plant into it is what you get out of it. So you have to be intentional about what you plant into that empty farmland. You can't want a happy home and be planting unhappiness. You can't want a peaceful home and be planting disorderliness. You can't want a loving and peaceful home and you yourself you are not peaceful. You are tampering with the peace and tranquility of your marriage. Marriage does not work on its own accord. You have to work it. Let me tell you, marriage is both a work and a walk. The Bible says, can two walk together except they be agreed? It is a walk, that is, it is a journey. It is not a destination. And it is also a work, that is, you have to put in effort to make it work. Because the Bible says, two are better than one, for they shall have good reward for their labor. That labor there is work. So no marriage would work until you have chosen to work it intentionally. And that is why, as a single person who is planning to get married, as a lady, ensure you are getting married to someone you can submit to, because the Bible says you have to submit to him with all your being. It's total submission. It's not that you submit in one area, you rebel in another area. The submission there is absolute submission, while the love for the man is also absolute love. It is easier for a woman that is submissive to look beautiful and to look lovable for a man than a woman that is rebellious. So forget the fact that you are successful as a woman. Forget the fact that you have achieved a lot. Forget the fact that forget the fact that you are spiritual. Forget the fact that you are eloquent or you are beautiful, you are gorgeously looking. If you are not submissive, your husband would not love you. Your beauty is beyond your physical outlook. Your beauty is beyond your achievements. Your beauty is your virtue. I think I've observed in marriages that is causing a lot of problems. And those two things are the ones I call the enemies of successful marriage. I've established the base that the wife must submit to the husband, while the husband also absolutely loves the wife. Now let me tell you this. You cannot submit to your husband with all your being and go into infidelity. It's not possible. You cannot love your wife and then be sharing yourself with another woman when you know your wife is at home, a submissive woman. It is not permitted. You can't, because the two is meant to become one. Although the two becoming one does not mean the two are equal. Oneness is different from equality. And that's the mistake most people make. Wives, listen, you are not equal with your husband. You are one with him, but you are not equal with your husband. Because your husband is the God over your home. That God made man in his likeness does not mean we are equal to God. That God made man in the image of God does not mean man is equal to God. So oneness is not equality. So you are not equal with your husband. You are only one with him. So submission to your husband is not questionable. It's not negotiable. You have to understand this. So briefly, let me just talk about these two things. I call them the enemies of successful marriage. Beyond submission, beyond love, what are these things? They are just two that I can think about now. And I call them the alternative mindset and unrealistic expectations. A lot of persons go into marriage having the mind that if this should not work, at least I have other girls, I have other men, I have other suitors, I have this. See, let me tell you, the moment you think if it does not work, you have other things to do or you have alternatives, it will not work. Because in the absence of alternative, commitment is unquestionable. But when there are alternatives, effort will be lacking. It is easier for you to pull out when there are alternatives outside. But when you know that if this does not work, I have nowhere to go, you will put in all effort to make it work. So that alternative mindset has been the reason why you see a lot of marriages crashing even before they start. Some people in just 2 months, in a year, they are already looking to go back to their exes. They're already looking for one bestie. They're already looking for one colleague that is good. And let me tell you, see, it is easier to fall in love with a stranger because you don't know the person. By the time you get to know the person, you know that you have made a grave mistake and you may not have a way back to where you were coming from. So we have to understand this, that having an alternative mindset while in marriage is a problem. Going into a marriage with an alternative mindset is an accident waiting to happen. You have already placed your marriage on a ticking time bomb. So go into your marriage with absolute commitment that this is all I have, and because this is all I have, my marriage must work. My marriage must be successful. My marriage must be enviable. That mindset alone goes a long way keeping your marriage intact, making your marriage stand the test of time. Because let me tell you, that a marriage is happy does not mean they've had it smooth all along. No, it's a product of consistent effort from the two parties in the marriage. So that you want to have a happy home does not mean the moment you start it, it will always be happy. No, there will be days of misunderstandings. There'll be days where you have some little quarrels, little arguments and all of that. But then in the midst of this thing, at the back of your mind, you're always telling yourself, no, I can't because of this leave my home. I can't because of this leave this marriage. And that is why the basis for your marriage should always be submission and love, because already that will take care of some things. You know, when there is genuine submission and there's genuine love from the two parties, definitely that would have already taken care of some things. But by and large, there are some things that can still happen in marriage that if you don't have genuine sense of commitment, you will be willing to pull out at any instance. At the earliest mistake like this, you are out of the marriage. And that is because you already have an alternative mindset. An alternative mindset is an enemy to genuine commitment. So take care of this. Get rid of that alternative mindset when you are going into that marriage, or if you are already in the marriage. If before you are watching this video now, you've always been thinking, I have someone there, I have this one there, I have that one there. So if this one is not working, I'll just pull out and go and hook up with another person. No, life is not like that. If not, you will keep hooking up with another person to hook yourself. So get rid of alternative mindset. And another thing that I'm going to talk about is the part of unrealistic expectation. You know, most people, when they want to go into marriage, there's this fairy tale mentality that, you know, marriage is this, marriage is sweet, marriage is that, my husband should be doing this, you know, giving me breakfast in bed, this one, that one, gifting me this one, push gift, that one gift, because this is how that marriage is. That's how my own too should be. This is how that man's wife treats him, so that's how my wife should also treat me. If all you do in your marriage is comparison, you are heading for destruction. So when you are getting married, of course there should be expectations. Of course there are things that need to be in place. Of course there are things that a husband should do for the wife. There are things that a wife should do for the husband. But then be realistic in your expectation. You know what your husband is capable of. Don't go into the marriage now and start demanding what he cannot afford. No. When you demand what your husband cannot afford, you are already telling him that in no time at all you would launch yourself into the realm of infidelity. Are you getting it now? So Be realistic in your expectation. The Bible says the expectation of the righteous shall not be cut off. Let your expectation be righteous. Don't be unrighteous in your expectation so that it will not be cut off. Because that is why you see, in marriages now, you just see people going for divorce, and you ask them what's the reason, they will tell you irreconcilable differences. The thing is that most times before they get into the marriage, they have this wild imagination. They have this thing about the marriage. Of course, marriage can be sweet, marriage can be lovely, but let me tell you, it's not a bed of roses. You will not get all you want in one person, because you yourself, you are not a perfect person, and you don't expect that person to be perfect. So if you as an imperfect being, you are looking for a perfect person, you are not realistic. There are a lot of things that you will not get in that marriage. Some things will just come along the line. Some things would improve along the line, and some things would never happen that you have to live with, because let me tell you, that's how it is everywhere. There's no 100% anywhere. No 100% anywhere. So be realistic with your have a realistic mentality going into marriage. Don't expect so much that when you now get what you are not expecting, you become disappointed, and the next thing you want to do is you want to opt out, or you start frustrating your partner. As a man, be realistic. As a woman, be realistic. Do not have an alternative mindset. I pray that appium that you so much want to have will be a reality. But then remember, get rid of that alternative mindset and unrealistic expectation. God bless you.